to season 2 of Hot Flashes and Cool Topics. Bridget and I survived season 1, and we are so excited to start a new season with amazing guests and amazing conversations and just bringing it up a notch to talk about midlife, because we have listened to our subscribers and our Facebook group, and we know some more things you want to talk about, and we are going to bring them down the pike for you. So get ready for a great season ahead. And we thought, what better way to start episode 1 than to have an incredible guest? So we were very blessed that Mindy Cohn, yes, Mindy Cohn, Natalie Green of Facts of Life, agreed to come on the show. She spent so much time with us. We could not even begin to tell you how appreciative.
She is lovely and smart, and we were so excited.
Just a joy, like a joyful energy.
Yes, she does. And she didn't know about us.
Who did you relate to on Facts of Life? Because I kind of was like a combination of Natalie, Tootie, and Joe. Like I wasn't like
you were a Joe for sure.
Really? Okay.
I didn't know you. I didn't know you then.
You feel like I just wasn't like into sports, so that part of it wasn't me. But I probably was more like that.
I didn't have enough money to be Blair.
Oh, I totally see you as Blair, though.
Oh, you totally see me as Blair.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm one of 12 kids. How could I be Blair?
Because you just, number one, you're blonde. But you just, I see, like you love doing your hair.
I do like that.
That's all Blair.
But I will say, about my younger sister's name was Natalie. So, or is Natalie. She's still, hi Natalie.
Thanks sis.
So that was a connection. And so I think I would have been better friends with Natalie and Tootie.
Okay. Oh, I definitely would have been friends with them. Definitely.
Because I would have been terrified of Joe. And I think Natalie and Tootie just were I don't know, just seemed easy to get along with. But I love that show. And it's funny, I was talking to my husband about this, and of course he was one of 3 boys, and he did not watch it very often. He knew who all the characters were though, but he did not watch it very often. And he's like, oh, and I said, you don't understand, John. That show was so important to a middle school girl.
Oh my gosh, 100%.
It was like, wait a minute, there's this show here, and they are talking about things that we want to talk about.
That are relatable to us.
And things that we're too nervous at the time in the 80s to ask someone about it. And they addressed them on the show. So I just thought everything. Like, I'll tell you, I meant to ask her most memorable, and I forgot. But I do remember the episode when she finds her father is cheating on her mother. Like, do you remember that episode? Yes. And she's in the restaurant and she looks and because that did not happen in my family, but still to be a child, and especially a teenager, even though this didn't really happen to Mindy, it happened to her character Natalie, but they grew up with us, and just the whole way it happened for her is so amazing.
And just everything she's been through. Like, I didn't even get to ask her, but we had mentioned that she did this great story in Vancouver. Go on YouTube, look it up. It's the story of her losing her virginity at 19, which isn't the purpose of this. But she went back to the writers and said, write in Natalie losing her virginity.
Yeah.
And so what a courageous thing for a young girl to walk in there and say, okay, one of us has to lose it. Pick me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I love that they did that, because like she had said in her speech, of course they would think it would have been Blair.
Right.
But well, because everybody, I guess not everybody loses their virginity, but a lot of people do.
40-year-old virgin movie.
The world seems to be moving on, so a lot of people are losing. Babies are being born, so
especially during COVID. So
COVID, but it's especially so. I think that was really, you're right. Just the courage to say, let's do this. And
it was she's just such a joy. Like she was open. She was honest. She really, we always ask if we ask anybody, is there something that really is off limits that you're not comfortable talking about? And she's like, I'll let you know if there's something comes up,
because she is very private, and I that is respect that, because I think that's something that you have to keep to yourself. You have to have,
Yeah.
I'm
You have to have
private about some things, you know, and you've got your
less
things
so
you want to
on
be private.
this podcast,
But there's still stuff I don't
Yeah.
share, you know, and still
Yeah.
things you don't share. And, you know, and that's just, you know, you've got to keep some things, or
Private.
I guess whatever feels good to you, you know,
Yeah.
whatever feels right to you.
But she was just absolutely lovely. And what a, you know, a great way to start our season 2. And
yes,
you know, it's September 30th, which is our first episode, and it happens to be International Podcast Day. So,
that's so cool.
Happy International Podcast
That's
Day.
right. I'll tell you, and Colleen and I've said it when we tried to tape our trailer, it took 8 hours because we didn't know how to get the microphones. We have learned so much in the past year.
I mean, you guys have heard we did an episode last week on our journey and what we've learned and everything, but it just energizes us so much, this podcast, and we learn so much and we connect with so many great people. And we have you guys to thank you for that, because we didn't know what kind of response we were going to get. You know, we knew Bridget had 11 siblings and I had 4, so that was 15 listeners and mom, so that's 16. But we had no idea that we were going to hit a nerve and it was going to resonate with so many people. So we are incredibly grateful and incredibly excited to start this season. And we are going to start with Mindy Cohn and let her do the talking. We might actually split this into 2 because
that's right.
We had almost
for a
2
long
hours.
time. Oh, she was so gracious to spend the time because she's busy. I mean,
She just booked another movie that she's doing.
And so she is a busy person. It wasn't like, you know.
And did you guys know she was the voice of Velma in Scooby-Doo? I did not know that.
I did in some of the, well, like definitely not in the 70s. She wasn't. She
was
a little baby.
But I think it was like 2003
or
like 2015.
The ones that your kids and my kids watched, she was the voice.
Was her. Now go back and listen to it and tell me you don't now visualize.
I know. See,
all right, so we're going to get started with Mindy, and here we go. Welcome back to Hot Flashes and Cool Topics. We are into season 2. Yes, Bridget, we survived season 1.
I can't believe it.
It's just amazing. When we pressed record a year ago, we had no idea.
It took us 8 hours to do our intro.
We did. And we wanted to start season 2 with a bang. So we invited a very, very, very special woman who graciously accepted our invitation, Miss Mindy Cohn. Hello, Mindy.
Bang, bang.
Yes. Who we grew up with. And know all my friends grew up with you.
And we are all the same age.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I can't believe I'm actually a little bit fangirling, and I'm sorry that I'm actually talking to you.
That's so darling.
Hot Flash started.
Hot Flash, thus the name. But
okay, you can't. Okay, fan.
Oh yes, she's
fan right here.
And mine went away. Now I've got a jacket on, so I'm freezing upstairs. So.
Okay,
yeah.
For the 2 people listening under a rock that did not know about the facts of life, because everyone knows about the facts of life, you played Natalie Green, which I love the story, and we're going to get into all of your life. But first, we want to say, wow, congratulations on your own podcast, Mondays with Mindy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It was, again, started out of this weird time. And the one thing that I was really missing was talking with, my life is chock full of fellow creatives of all kinds. And that's how I stay optimistic and inspired. And that's the only thing that was missing from my daily stay-at-home life. And my friend Christian Brescia, the tech genius that he is.
We want.
Yeah, everybody should have a Christian in their life, by the way. And that sounded really weird. Okay, or a Jew or an Islam.
Whatever. Yeah.
But you know, he's just so darling and technically put us in a place where it looks like we've been around forever. And we were shooting, you know, going by the seat of our pants as well. When you start, I think everybody does. If someone tells you different,
definitely.
I think lying. Mm-hmm. And just being able to have conversations with people who've been in my life for a long time, but we never really had these kind of conversations about what it's like to just be a creative in this world now and forever, and what inspires you. And so yippee, it's been
And you've
It's
had
gonna
some
take an
great
advance.
guests. I mean, your first show was with your best friends, which was very smart.
Yes.
And then you've had Isaac Mizrahi, you've had Lucy Hale, who
Yes.
co-hosts with you on a show that went on demand recently in July, correct?
Yes.
It was a movie, yes, called A Nice Girl Like You. So I had her and my other co-star, Jackie Cruz. And my season 2 will also have a little Facts of Life flavor. We are launching our season 2 with Kim Fields.
Okay, so we're listening.
Oh, yeah.
Here in podcast world.
Well, what I love on your podcast, and I know a lot of your guests have been really good friends of yours. You can tell just through your conversation that you are a fierce friend, not like fierce, loyal friend. Like, I'm like, oh, she is a great friend to the people in her life.
I appreciate that so much because, before it became a gay term, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I always considered my friends my family of choice. I come from a really great family, but it's small. And it's really basically just my parents, my sister, and a couple cousins. And I knew early on, I do not want to be on this planet by myself and traversing this amazing adventure on my own. And as soon as I didn't get married at 19, the way that my parents did, I said, just in case, let me get, my committee. And so, the greatest gift that's been with this podcast, I have to say, is to really kind of see all my friends in all their glory and realize what magnificent people I have in my life, which I know, but viscerally, you kind of get to know on a deeper level when they show up and go, of course, we're going to talk to you for a half hour about anything. So.
And it comes through. So
and you've been friends with them a long time too. It's not, I mean, you seem to have a real history with the people that you brought on.
Yes. And I even people who have just been in my life for the last, 5 or 6 years, there's a whole New York contingency that has sort of been reborn from my 20s. We've all refound each other, or they're new in my life through friends who've been around forever. I think when you are our age, and I don't get personal, but my age is everywhere. So I'm 54. I just turned 54.
I'm 53. Bridget's 52.
I'm almost 53. Yeah.
Young. Okay. You find that it's, I don't collect people. So you either have a connection with someone or you don't. And at this age, when you meet someone, and I'm hoping it's going to be like that with my future husband, I think at our age, you just kind of know. It's like, okay, there you are. Lovely. Come.
Right.
So, it's definitely not this adolescent, I have a crush on you, or I want to be with the popular girls, whatever the hell all our issues are. That kind of drops away.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? We talk a lot about the freedoms that you earn when you get over that 50 mark. And I think for us, one of the biggest ones is just not caring about what other people think or opinions, and just having a value to the relationships in your life, whatever they are, just appreciating them and adding value.
I was such a people pleaser, to the point that it really was not in my own best interest. And unfortunately, I was a very late bloomer, letting go of a lot of those people, and I always called just having a death grip on those relationships. I'm not to get religious, but God did for me what I can't do for myself in that regard with those relationships, because I am a death grip girl. Like, if you say you're my friend, I'm taking it the way I mean it. Some people don't mean it that way, same as love, right? People have different definitions or feelings of love. It doesn't mean one is worse than the other, but you have to look for matches in your definitions of love and commitment and friendship and tolerance and all of those things. And I think, my Granny Rose, I live a lot by her. She lived to be 98, so we had her for a very long time. And not only my adult ganger for her, but I think very much, I have her terminal optimism, in my veins. And her disposition of grace is definitely Granny Rose. And she always said to me, I think she was 70 when she said this to me, right? She just said, I hope you don't wait as long as I did to not care what people think. She was 70.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
I did a little early, a couple decades earlier than Gran,
Oh, wow. That is great. And that's
great advice.
Yeah, it is great advice, because that took me a long time. And I'm opposite. I'm from a humongous family, 12 kids. I'm the 11th, and everybody telling me and trying to please, but that resonates. And I think it did get to be right around 50 that it was like, well, I've just got to do what I know in my heart is right and what makes you happy. So, and I still get there. I still kind of have to catch myself.
And
but
then I have to smack her and she comes back down.
She has no problem. Colleen has no problem.
To reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's the Jersey girl in me. I'm like,
Yeah.
Bridget, get back over here.
We need each other. Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly. We really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people have appreciated that even more now with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yes.
connecting.
I think people have been able to get quiet whether they wanted to or not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have to say it's been fascinating to watch how many people I haven't talked to, and not in a nobody's done me wrong, we're not in an argument. It's just really been interesting. I found that with my cancer too. It's like, who shows up? It doesn't mean there's a lack of love or care, but who can actually step in and show up and be there and FaceTime. And it's been a real fascinating time in my group. I don't know about you all, but my group has gotten very small, and I feel really comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very just real, connected, and dare I say, intimate
Mm-hmm.
to go through this with whom you've decided to go through it with. It feels very intimate, very, the relationships are definitely getting stronger.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, they really are.
Quality over quantity as you
Mm-hmm.
get older, and
It
especially
is.
through this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But let's backtrack for a minute. And like we said, that you were on The Facts of Life for 9 seasons and really discovered by Charlotte Rae, which is a great.
So the story is Norman Lear. And yes, so, as she has passed, I feel like I can come out wherever I am and tell the real story.
Oh,
Okay.
Which is so funny because Kim and I have talked about that. And she said, you've been so gracious through her whole life. And I said, because she was there.
Right.
But really it was Norman Lear who pulled the trigger.
Okay.
He was the boss, right?
I'm fangirling again that Norman Lear.
We're
I'm
right
sorry.
there for you.
Okay.
And how Natalie Green's name came about is, yes, Natalie was the first name of Charlotte's best friend in high school. And Norman said, what's your favorite color? And I said, green. And he said, so Natalie Green, and that's how she was born, And so, yes, Charlotte saw something in me, and we had the most amazing conversation. There were other girls there from the school, but it was Norman who called my headmaster and said, we want to write for a part for Mindy Show. Do you think she'd be interested? And he was just like, her mom's a lawyer, her dad's a businessman. Like, they don't know from this stuff. So let me give them a call. It was one of those, like, what's going on?
Wow. Were you into theater then before that? Like, were you in any acting at all before they discovered or
the
found
school
you?
production of Godspell.
Okay.
I built platforms and flats and learned like lighting and, that you do in theater arts in high school, right? But no, my track was to be a doctor. That was what I was going to be. I'm still fascinated by medicine. I'm still, I always just think, through my 40s, I thought, boy, should I go to med school? And I just didn't have the bandwidth.
Okay.
Or I think the physical strength to do it. But I'm still really interested in doing it. Yeah, it's always been my heart.
That's so interesting. Now I know you're a big Bravo fan. So are you addicted to any of the medical shows since you're?
Not as much, because the medical one, they've all, I sort of like texted Mindy Cohn and just said, I am such a true blue, but I'm now more the Mediterranean, like the cruises behind, and Top Chef, because the housewife shows, including these medical shows, it's all about these middle-aged drunk women fighting over stupid.
Yeah.
And
drinking.
I'm so offended that women our age and older are doing this, and it's been so monetized, and you can blatantly see that they're just doing it for fame and money. I find it a little offensive now. I gotta say, they're not as enjoyable to me anymore. I know it's been a real like loss.
But what's interesting is you've mentioned that Kim Fields was on one season, and that it wasn't, you suggested that she not do that, but it was an interesting Wait, because she did it more to get into the social media aspect.
Well, guess what? So Kim Fields is my season 2 guest, and she said, Mindy, that is not why I did it.
Really?
Oh.
So
Wow.
because I was going with it, like that was the story, right? No, apparently she has other reasons, and she talks about it.
She'll
And
talk.
fine.
Oh,
but
you guys have to listen to that episode.
But I that's the only reason I could see for doing it. She had other reasons to do it that she says, and I obviously I believe her. But my feeling is that the only reason you do those shows is to make the salary, which is quite high. I have 2 friends in the Jersey cast that are real friends of mine, real women friends.
Right.
And I sort of get that part of it, the real meat and potatoes part of it. And it's really to put themselves forward for business opportunities or monetary, whatever reasons. And bravo to do that. But, I'm an actor, and what I've always said is, if I said yes to every reality show that asked me to do it, I'd be talking to you from my private island. Like, I'm an actor, proudly an actor, and I don't want to play myself on television. So for me, that line's just really clear, with no judgment whatsoever, because I'm a huge fan, of reality television.
It's just not for you. Yeah.
How many did you turn down?
A good 15. Off the top of my head, like a good 15 reality shows. And the one that I did, which I don't know if you call it a reality show or a competition show, I did a season of The Worst Cooks in America, which only solidified why I will never do reality TV. It was truly one of the most horrific experiences of my life. I mean,
Really?
it was almost the worst.
What was so bad about it?
The personalities.
Okay.
We won't say more, but were my judges. The production, and the way that they treated us, not knowing that we were camera savvy. And so instead of kind of getting the results that they wanted out of people who aren't camera savvy, they manipulated us, I felt, to get those kind of high stakes moments. And all of us kind of, I mean, the one thing that happens is you do just grab onto each other. So it was Mike Sorrentino and Lonnie Love and Barbara Eden. I mean, I had a wonderful, wonderful people around me, but we were all just like, what the heck is this monster? I mean, to make Barbara Eden cry, granted off camera, like, who makes Barbara Eden cry?
No.
Oh,
I loved her.
And
not okay.
I've heard that they almost exhaust you, like that they run
and
really late, and
they poke and they find out your weakest things, and they didn't like that we all got along. Usually there's like a little bit of rivalry, but we all just adored each other and pulled for each other, and they were like, no, we don't want that. And instead of saying, this is a celebrity version, let's just go with it, the audience will love it anyway.
Right.
Anyway, I was very happy. I was happy to not be the first, and I lasted kind of halfway through, but I was very ecstatic to be
done. To be gone.
Off the island. There you go. You're off the island.
Worth no amount of money for myself or a charity, I guess, is really the ultimate point. It's just not worth it to me.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there are so many reality shows now that really aren't reality.
Not at all. I was like, they film one actually in our neighborhood, and I won't say which one, but they do film one. Colleen and I live just like down the street from each other.
In Nashville. We're in Nashville. We're right outside Nashville.
I know which one.
I bet you know. Yeah.
I knew it.
Get out.
Yeah. And it is so scripted. Like they called the neighborhood to come
go with God, love them, whatever.
Yes.
But yes, it's so not real.
There were take after take after take of the same thing. We're like, this isn't real. So
kind of burst the bubble on that one.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned, which I absolutely love, is that you had a great time in your teenage years with the other stars of the 80s without worrying about TMZ or social media. Or when you were talking to Lucy Hale about it, I said, wow, we really did fly under the radar back then. Do you have some great stories about that?
Teenage debauchery, which we've all done. Well, underage drinking, going to the clubs and dancing, hooking up with guys. Nothing dangerous or earth-shattering, but definitely would have tarnished our images. Definitely would have, you know, I pride myself, you know, the only thing you have as an actor is your reputation and your talent. And if that reputation is tarnished in any way, it really does, it inhibits that people want to work with you, or that you could be trouble. I mean, so it was nothing that dastardly, but yeah, I mean, behavior that is not becoming. I mean,
Right. But like you said, typical teenagers do this, and these kids now, I can't imagine, that they're being followed. I can't imagine. It's hard enough to be a teenager, but just then piling that on a young, developing mind, I really feel for these kids. I really do. And I mean,
I know the peer pressure. We didn't have that pressure also of millions and thousands of people. I mean, we got enough crap, just we're the 80s. I mean, wardrobe, right? And just pimples and growing up and boobs and not boobs and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You get enough of that anyway, but to have that also being covered in your private life and people knowing where you live, like, I just think that's all really weird and scary.
It's scary. It's scary because we know most people are good people, but there's not good people out there, and they don't need to be knowing where all these people live. So, yeah.
And also, by the way, I'm gobsmacked at how many people should have had bad reputations, and because they weren't covered, didn't.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
It was like, oh, this person is no good. This is not a nice person, and yet they thrived because people don't know.
Yeah, that is amazing.
And they have this image in front of the screen and on interviews, and then as soon as the camera's off, the flip.
But just even now, things, and we don't get too political on the show, but things coming out with especially women and men too, that were the Me Too movement, that you're finding this out, and it's so heartbreaking.
I mean, listen, the thing with Ellen, or oh yeah, it's like none of these things, by the way, y'all, are secrets in this.
Wow.
Really?
It's just when the Weinstein, I mean, all of it. Everybody knew everything. It's just when it's going to come out, and after 20 years, when it doesn't, you just think, I guess it's not going to come out. So then when it does, it's like, oh my word, you know.
Wow. Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
What have you seen as far as the difference between what your industry was like when you were, let's say, 20, 25, and now that you're 50, 55? Like, how has it changed?
The first thing that affects me is that, you know, agents and managers used to love actors and want to take them on the journey with each other on this road of their career. And now the agents and managers and producers and directors and people that used to be just behind the scenes want to be stars themselves, or appreciate and get the, I call it cash and prizes of being up front, right? Celebrity showrunners, or these really famous showrunners, or actors turning into producers when really it's their producing partner who's in the back like Oz behind the curtain doing it all, right? But they're the, you know, they're seen as this like, God, oh, you're such a good role. And it's like, oh my God, she's got like a staff of 10. What are you talking about? You know, that kind of stuff is so different than how it used to be. And I do have to say there were definite horror stories of a studio system. But what was interesting about that sense is there, for actors at least, and writers and creatives, there was a safety. Now it's so quick. It's like, what have you done lately? And actors that you work with don't have any interest in the history or know who anybody is that is not, you know, is further back than 10 years before. It always freaks me out that a lot of young actors don't know who, you know, I'm not kidding, you know, Elizabeth Taylor, Judy Garland, Lucille Ball. Like, they have no sense of, if they know the name, they don't know what they've done. Wow. And so it is a wow. It's sort of like, my goodness. That's changed. It's sort of like, there's no, I'm going to say respect. It's one of the things that's interesting between New York and LA that's so different. New York, I think because the business doesn't revolve around show business, it's the arts, and it's a little elevated. And so there is a community there. And out here, I think because I always equate it, it's like, I'm sure how Texans feel about oil people, or how New Yorkers feel about Wall Streeters, or, you know, the Japanese feel about import export. You know, it's like whatever business, I think there's just, it's just hard. So nowadays it's less about being creative in the arts and more about just dollars and what's selling. And so it's harder. It's just much harder.
Yeah, there's a lot more platforms, it seems like. And it like, I don't know who these Instagram famous people are, you know, like, you know, people, I know Leslie Jordan because I love him. And I've seen your name on because I follow you. I follow people my age on it. But like when my daughter, I have a 24-year-old, and she's even not as following as most 24-year-olds are. But she's like, oh, that's this Instagram whoever. And I'm like, I don't know.
And they're making a fortune.
And they're making a fortune.
Which blows my mind completely.
Yeah. And I mean,
the whole fame thing versus having a talent. You know, that's so we all call it kind of the Kardashian thing, which, you know, you applaud the business acumen of it and fine. But, you know, to see that as any kind of talent, it is not really appropriate. You know, and what is so great about these platforms is I think finally we're slowly starting to see other creatives and storytellers really getting a chance to do some really good work. I mean, it's exciting times, I do have to say. I think we've turned a corner here. Okay. And people are really, there's some good storytelling out there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So.
How did the industry react with the pandemic? Because everything just shut down very quickly. So
yeah, you know, everybody's just starting to get back to work. And what I mean by that, well, first of all, the shock is there's been a mass exodus of agents, mostly agents and managers who were furloughed, and actors who went, Uncle, I'm done. And so a lot of productions went up to Canada. It's kind of revisiting the early 80s. Everybody's flying up to Canada because there's crews up there and they don't have any restraints. It's you go up there, you quarantine for 2 weeks, and then you can shoot. So I have a couple friends who are on series who went up there. But here in LA, things are slowly starting to get back into production, just adjusting, lots of testing. And so that budget line is now included. And so there's shorter hours, less salaries, all kinds of things, but there's a new safety person that has to be on set, the production has to hire. They're taking as many precautions as they can, but it's going to be different. And by the way, then it's not, because as soon as this is over, and it will be over, I don't think anybody's running to get vaccinated and being a part of that first onslaught. I know I'm not.
Yeah, prototypes never good.
Yeah, right. The first in anything like that. I don't.
Yeah.
But I do think at some point this time next year, I do think everything will be right back where it started. I mean, unfortunately, businesses like restaurants and dry cleaners, and I mean, you name it, aren't going to survive. You know, and I was even talking to my New York friends with this eating out. I don't know if you're experiencing it where you are. The eating outside is one thing. What happens when it gets cold? I mean, LA's not going to be affected, but New York, all the restaurants are going to have to shut down again. So I'm so concerned that there's going to be just a Jodes in reverse, like the Grapes of Wrath, and everyone's going to have to pack their car and go to the country because I don't know how you're going to survive in the city. And that includes so many entertainment people who don't make a living, and their supplementary, you know, income is being a waiter, being whatever.
Right.
I know that's countrywide, but.
Yeah, no, even in Nashville, there's so much music production, and there are a lot of people that are out of work that would put on the concerts and put on
especially
the
the lighting and the production and all that.
And we're seeing it.
That's not going to be coming back anytime soon. I don't think people are going to be running to a concert.
Especially concerts.
Broadway, the earliest is March. The prediction is March.
And that's devastating.
And even then, what's it going to look like in March? Are you going to be, our theater house is going to be able to survive with the amount of people that are, I don't know. It's all, it's very nerve-wracking. And I think that uncertainty for me has really been the only thing that has been tremendously anxiety provoking, I think, for everyone else too. That uncertainty. We're not, my age, I can speak also just being single. I just, for me, we just have to do what we feel is right for our health. Period, full stop. And I think so much of our age's health stuff is still like not taboo to talk about, but no one really wants to discuss.
And that's what, our podcast is really about breaking the taboos and talking about anything and everything. Because what we have found is that there is just this huge demographic of women, 45 to 65, but a little bit older and younger on both ends, that it's just the media is not addressing. And we are a financial force. We are a political force. We are a social force. And it's just like, there's this blank space because society, culturally, we didn't live as long as we were living before, and they don't know what to do with us. We're not in the retirement ages, and we're not. So what do you do with that middle?
So many of my friends who are beauties, real true beauties, so much of what they don't want to talk about is because they still want to be seen as viable and sexy. And, I do too. And I believe I am. I mean, to me, God bless genetics and my skin. And, there's certain things that I've always loved about myself that I continue to love about myself. But has anyone talked about your falling parts? And
oh, we do. We do. Oh, yes. We've had many.
We have. Oh, you're near Dr. Sherry Ross. I don't know if you know her. She's in Santa Monica. She's been on.
She's an amazing gynecologist.
Yes.
I mean, listen, when my gyno says, "Oh, you've dropped a little," what?
What's dropped?
What is dropped?
She's got a whole book. She's got a whole book that talks about it.
Okay, I'm so excited. I'm going to get that because, first of all, it did me in for a second, but then obviously she said everything falls, everything, inside and out.
Yeah.
There's things you do and you take care of it and it's all good and, nothing to write home about. But I never heard about that. And I have a very open family and very, let me just say. And I was shocked that no one had talked about it. So, of course, Busybody Inc., that's one of my, calls everybody and says, they're like, Mindy, I can't believe we just talked about that. We don't need to hear about that. I'm like, but you know about it? They're like, of course we do.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
Why is it taboo? That's what we can't figure out. That's one of the reasons we started this.
I think somehow women have visions of having sex with someone and their vagina falling out and, or not being seen as desirable.
Right.
And, I will just quote one of my dearest friends in the world who says, think like a man, a hole is a hole. I
love that.
Always.
Oh, man. You will have to read. She has Sheology and Sheology the Sequel, and she has been fabulous. And every chapter is.
We've had her on several times.
Yeah.
She's like, if you can't say vagina, you can't. I can't be on your show unless you can say the word vagina.
And we were like vagina, vagina.
I'm all about, I am just very forthcoming and all about that because again, I think because I grew up not being, the pretty one, whatever the hell that means.
That's right. Whatever that means.
But, I've always worked very hard on myself, loving myself as a female and, it is an inside job. And so gratefully I've done the work. So I get to this age, I still feel the same way about myself. And so, but a lot of my friends don't because they're relying on what's out there, which is tight, honed, whatever, and it's a shame because
it is a shame.
Couples like my parents who are together forever and each other's soulmates, it's so much more than that. It's just so much more than that. And again, I think this pandemic has shown us what really, that you can FaceTime with no makeup on and everybody's just
right.
I brushed my hair for this one, okay? Usually Bridget sees me.
She had to catch me. I was in the shower once and forgot that we were on and I just ran up and I'm like, okay, my hair's just dripping.
I love you guys. I was going to blow dry my hair and I'm like,
no, please don't.
And I'm just going to show up.
And we appreciate that.
Yeah,
we really want to change that narrative, that old narrative of midlife. And we're so passionate about it. And, you know, there's an intrinsic beauty that comes with age that if you can see it and you can appreciate it, that extrinsic, you can let go a little bit. Like for me, as long as my husband thinks I'm beautiful and I feel good about myself,
Right.
I don't really care, but I'm not in the field you're in. I'm not in that, you know, society where they do.
Listen, it was an eye-opener to be hired for the movie A Nice Girl Like You, and production said, keep the gray, we love it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This next film I'm doing, I asked, do you want me to dye my hair? Oh my God, no, we love it.
Awesome.
I think, again, during this pandemic, people have started to really connect with their gray and how can I make this shiny silver? And how can
be a silver fox. Yeah.
Listen, I have so many friends who are on TV. Namely one who is a top star of a soap opera, and she is letting her. I mean,
now
awesome.
I gotta go watch the soap operas and find out which one.
Oh, I bet I know.
Yes, I think you do. I posted about her. I'll just drop that one.
I know.
My recent post.
Oh wait, the one you went on a hike with?
Days of Our Lives. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, just checking. Check your Instagram, people, and you'll know.
And you know, she's a stunner anyway. Always has been.
Beautiful.
Always will be. The woman does not age. It's annoying. But the gray that she let in is a beautiful shade of gray, and it goes with the blonde. And she's like, I'm doing it. And I go. I mean, I love that part. Not that people who color their hair should be shot or judged, but also if you choose that it maybe doesn't make you look older. I mean, this is 54.
Exactly.
You know, whatever. And I just do think the more it is seen, the more it's going to become acceptable. And we also, yes, can be silver foxes or salt and peppers or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it circles back to if that bothers someone that's in your life so much that your own personal hair is gray or whatever, or that you don't want to wear your makeup, well, then maybe they don't need to be in your circle anymore.
Right.
If the way, so it just kind of is just a big circle. So it's kind of nice though. And it gets back to where we are at this age, just finding our people. I found Colleen 5 years ago in my neighborhood, you know.
I love that. Well, Colleen, to your point, which I think is so amazing, is there the ism in my industry that is not talked about as boldly as everything of the other isms is ageism.
Right.
And I mean, especially in regard to women. They don't like it. They don't want it. When a casting director gets the breakdown and a producer is asked for a woman in their 40s, they hire someone in their 30s.
Right.
I have gone out for auditions where it says 50s. I'm clearly 50s. And I am in the room with 60 and 70-year-olds. And they're like, oh, Mindy, you're too young. And then I'll go in for 40s and it's like, oh my God, you're perfect. Will you dye your hair? You know?
Yeah.
And there's this, you know, it's so fascinating to me. So it really is, I think, something we are really going to have to step into and talk about, like you all are doing, louder. My adage has always been the best is yet to come. And I don't mean that to sound trite, but I really just in my heart and soul feel that there isn't an age I want to go back to yet. I'm sure it will come at some point, but it hasn't yet. And I just feel there's so much to be excited about, and everything around us tells us different. About aging, right? It's like, but really, if I think most of us check our insides, like we shared, we're more comfortable. We love ourselves more, or at least know how to get a loving feeling, you know? And
And I think we get a radar about other people too. We know when someone is just not being genuine or authentic, because at least for me, I'm drawn to authentic people. I don't want someone who's going to put on a facade. I don't have time for it anymore. It's a lot of energy, and you get to choose where you put your energy at this age.
Right. And you get to, you know your people that you can call up if you need to cry.
Right.
It's like, Colleen. Colleen, I gotta talk to you.
That sense of being ignored is a real thing. Like, you know, when you're walking down the street and you stop being looked at. I mean, the grace that I've had is I've never been that person. You know what I mean? I've never been that person that someone across the street is like, damn, you know. So I I feel for my girlfriends who are going through that, feeling invisible. And I just said, there's no one that can make you feel invisible. They're just,
we did an episode on invisible women syndrome because it's a fascinating idea. And, we always try to reframe it. So instead of thinking that it's a negative, it's like, that's a superpower for you. You get to fly under the radar and do whatever you want, because that fear of failure, the fear of not being noticed, you can
it's also an old system that patriarchal, it's an old system that men have to look at you in order to feel viable. Or to be attractive. It's just, we have to untrain that. It's just an old system. That's the language that I've chosen to adopt about certain things that are systems that have been in place. And they're just, there's no use for them anymore, truly.
They're antiquated.
I always tell my female friends who are heading productions and getting their right to shine, it's like, throw the rule book out. You don't want to be in a man's world, in a man's position. You want to be in the world where you are in the position you're in. It's that old system. Do we want to play the same rules they've been playing by? No, I want a whole new rule book. I don't want the same rule book because it hasn't worked for many of us, mostly women, right? So instead of getting in the door to get our hands on the rule book, it's like, oh no, let's make a new one.
Make a new it's a great way to look at it.
That way there's no, I don't like to hold anger or resentment, or that is just so negative for me. And I just think you can look at your past, but don't stare at it. That's a big, real famous saying.
I've never heard it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it though.
great. It's great. Look at it, but don't stare.
But don't stare, because there's nothing for you there, really. And so, just trying to get into those systems, I think it might be an interesting way to kind of move through it if we can just create new systems and don't have to compare and leave those where they are. There's no need to bust them down. There's no need to get into them, but just leave them alone and
move on with something new. That is fantastic.
That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
Yes,
that's a great way to look at it.
It's so inspiring to watch the young people get out there and just kind of decide that they don't like what's going on, and we're going to do something about it. That energy, whether you agree with it or not, the energy of it is so great.
Yes,
and it's always the young people that make the changes.
It is something.
So they have that optimism. They have that energy. They kind of have that I can change the world attitude. So let them do it.
Calling your friend Jeffrey Caskey, his son.
Yes. I have a friend of mine whose sons were survivors of the Parkland shooting. And his son Cameron did the March for the Living. And he was 17 years old at the time.
Yeah.
That whole group got together and he just said, they didn't want me near them.
They wouldn't live.
I went to bring pizza and they were like, "You're caged
animals. Just throw
this
the food
happened. And we've got to put this together." So that is amazing. That is very amazing.
So we could not finish this conversation in one episode. So we have decided to split it into two. And there is so much more to talk about. She just shares, so much, yet we're still trying to figure out that whole loss of virginity, who the superstar was.
Oh, yeah. And I respect her privacy because I don't want to share that with anybody.
You're right. But we're just like, was it a Bridget and I have like our top 3 choices who we think it might have been.
Our choices.
Who we think might have been around that time. But anyway, she talks more about, midlife and her great attitude about knowing that positivity is going to come her way. And that if it hasn't come yet, it wasn't meant to be. She talks about relationships, the fact that she has not been married, but is open to it.
Right.
And, the fact that she would love to just live on Broadway. That's what she wants to do.
And I'm telling you, anybody that knows anybody in Broadway or knows of a very nice man that is not a jerk, you really need to get in touch with her.
We're playing matchmaker.
No, we are, but I'm like, really? First of all, anybody that would like to meet her and possibly date and possibly marry.
She's going to kill us for saying that.
She is, but I'm telling you, if you want to be happy, find her. And
also,
we
did not sing the facts of life to her.
No, we
didn't. It was hard. I was getting ready.
You know what? It's funny, when she came on, it didn't even occur to me to do that. It did not even, come.
Well, we wanted to talk about her present day life. Obviously her life story is great. And she needs to write a book. We forgot to mention that.
Oh yeah. But
we wanted to talk about the present.
Right. And she has a lot going on. Yes.
So, and because she has a lot going on, we are going to have a second episode to make sure that you hear this entire awesome conversation. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for making our first season an awesome season.
Yes.
Right, Bridget, can you believe it?
I can't believe it's been a year.
So we've got some new things and exciting things that we will talk about as the season rolls out. Please share your thoughts and your ideas with us. hotflashescooltopics@gmail.com. Email us, let us know. Go on our website because we have a lot of cool stuff on there. And also join our Facebook group, Women Over 40. It's under Hot Flashes and Cool Topics, but we're getting to be a big group there.
Yeah.
And we love sharing stories and experiences. So we are going to say goodbye on this one, but stay tuned because episode 2 is coming your way this week. Take care.
Bye.